Okay, we are going to continue looking at the bakery database. And I first have to connect into my database server, and there is bakery. So if you remember, bakery has 4 different tables. Cookies, which stores information about recipes for cookies, including their ingredients and how much of each ingredient. Customers, which stores address information and name and that sort of thing. Ingredients stores information about the ingredients we use, for example, calorie information. And orders then is a table that keeps track of orders for cookies by customers. All right, we are going to open up a query here. And the one we want is, let's see, this one right here. Saving queries. On the last video, we looked at creating a temporary table. So this is the exact same query that we ran in that video. Create temporary table if not exists. And we have this somewhat complicated, not overly, but somewhat complicated select statement where we're going to put a bunch of information together from the various tables. We're going to put orders, customers, and cookies and ingredients together. And we're going to, in that table, create or have the business name, the cookie name, the quantity of ingredients that we have, the quantity ordered, the ingredient name, the amount of that ingredient, the measurement used for that ingredient, like cups or whatever, the calories, again the units, which should match up, and then the total calories per ingredient, per cookie, per customer. All right, now, when we did this last time, we created a temporary table, and we discussed the fact that the temporary table exists only as long as the database connection is alive. Right, so if you terminate the database connection, then the temporary table no longer exists. There are other ways to accomplish similar things, but have them be more persistent. So another example is select. This is the exact same select statement as above in the create temporary table. The only difference is inside the select statement, I just said it's the exact same, and then I said the difference is, so select, we're going to into out file. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take this and put it into a file, which then you could transport around and treat as any other file. Turns out there's a little trick to this, which we will see. And then another option is to create what's known as a view. So we're going to create view, total calories view, and then we have as, and then again the same select statement that we had up above when we created this temporary table. Okay, so let's run this and see what happens. Hopefully no errors or anything like that. That would be not pleasant. Hey, seeing lots of green, that's good. We got 2 pieces of output. The first one from the temporary table 1, and then from total calories view 2. And it turns out that those 2 tables look exactly the same as we'd expect, running the same select statements. But we ran 3 things. There's this temporary out file business into out file, total calories into text. Not temporary, that's a file. Well, there's a little bit of a trick here that we have to get around. We haven't had the video yet on setting permissions. So we're forced to save into the default folder. And in Windows, of course, this is a pain, because everything in Windows is a pain. So it turns out that that default folder is hidden from your view. It's in C:\program data, which you may never have seen before because, well, it's hidden. So you're going to have to go and change your permissions to view hidden folders. And then if you go into program data, you can find MySQL server, whatever version you're running. I'm running 5.7, and then data. And then all of a sudden, here's all your databases. So here's the bakery database, card database that we'd made, employees and grades and so on. So if we're going to bakery, I see all kinds of things going on in here in bakery. And then, let's see, what is this? Total calories. This is a text document, .txt. Total calories into, and if I click on that, well, I didn't want to quite do that. If I just click on this and not double click, we see here is the text file with all of that table information in it. And it looks to be tab separated. Actually, you can change how it's separated. You can put commas in here if you want to have it comma separated, which you could then load into a spreadsheet, or perhaps if we wanted to, we could load this into some kind of script file. Not script file, but another script, maybe written in Python or some other language like PHP. So there could be good reasons for saving these things to files, maybe. All right. So what I wanted to do then, I mean, I think, the uses for saving these kinds of outputs and tables into files is, that's fairly clear, the difference between that and using a temporary table. What about the difference between the temporary table and the view then? Well, there are a couple of significant differences. First of all, well, if I click refresh, notice that I now have a total calories view, which I can run. And I can use this view just like I would use any other table. So for example, in this view, if I want to select rows, limit 1,000, then notice what it does. It actually does a select statement. So it treats this view, total calories view, just like any other table, and we get the information out of it. That's interesting. And also notice that there is a permanence here. So if I close this down, and I don't need this anymore, and then restart MySQL, connect to the database, go to the bakery, and the view is still there. So there's another difference. The view is persistent, but there's something interesting here about views. View is not actually a table. So why isn't a table? What's the advantage to using then a view over a table? Well, as it turns out, we can show that. And all right, I paused briefly there, and so I could open up another query. And I have shut down the connection to the database, so I'm going to recreate the temporary table. I'm going to then select everything in the temporary table and show that. I'm going to show everything in the view for total calories. And then I'm going to insert into the orders another order from customer number 1. And we're going to order some sugar cookies. Actually, we're going to order 100 of those. And then I'm going to re-show the temporary table and the view. All right, so let's run this. And get an error. Oop. Yeah, well, forgot to tell it which database to use. Let's see, what is it? Use bakery. All right, let's try this again. Always road test your code before you make a video. Okay, here we go. So temporary table, and Elrod has some sugar cookies, and then some chocolate chip cookies, 200, and then some more sugar cookies at 120, and then some Scooby Snacks orders some chocolate chips. Joe's Eats orders some sugar cookies and some chocolate chips, and then more chocolate chips. Okay, and then if we look at the view, we see that this looks very similar. Okay, excellent. And if we go over here, now this is after we've done the update. So we've inserted into the orders another thing. And let's see, Elrod's, we have 100 sugar cookies, 200 chocolate chip, 120 sugar cookies. Then Scooby Snacks with their 400 chocolate chips. Joe's Eats gets her sugar cookies and her chocolate chips and more chocolate chips. So this hasn't changed then, even after we did the insert, but if we go to the view, then things look different. Let's see here. Well, it's all jumbled up, isn't it? Let's see. L rods, we have 200 chocolate chips. And we have 200 sugar. I'm sorry, we have 200 chocolate chips for the sugar. And chocolate chips again. I'm going to find, here we go. So with L rods, I guess with a view, the difference here is, well, other than it screwed up the order, so I should have been more careful in sorting the order. I didn't know this was going to do this to me. I guess I could just re-record the video. Maybe not. The punchline here is that the view is not a table. It's actually a script. And so when you update your other tables, subtables, like we updated the orders, then the view is actually automatically updated too. So there is a big difference between a view and a temporary table. So why would you use one versus the other? Well, every time you use a view, that script has to be executed. So if you're going to do this a lot, the advantage obviously is that it's updated every time you update a table, but the disadvantage is every time you run this, then you have to recreate this information, whereas with the temporary table, it's created once. And so if it's a large table that you're going to have to access many, many times and during one session, then the temporary table is really the way to go. Otherwise, I guess you might want to use a view. Okay, and so the view has the permanence going for it. All right, so there are some differences for different ways of storing your scripts, or I'm sorry, your queries.